Space Station.
Alright guys, I'm back for another 5 random questions video. I really like doing these because I spend a lot of time in the week watching videos, watching people's opinions, watching what's going on in the community, and developing my own little opinions on them. But I often don't know whether I'm like completely at odds with what everyone else is thinking. And I don't often have a chance to discuss it with other people when I'm at work in the week and things. This is a good way of finding out, you know, what your take on certain issues is, what your opinions are, whether I'm completely like off the wall with how I'm thinking about things. So it's just a good way of being interactive, I guess, and makes a nice change to all the Let's Play videos and things. So feel free to just watch my opinions, but also it would be good if you could do video responses, because I do always like hearing, you know, what people have to say. So it is another 5 questions, 5 random questions I suppose, but they're not completely random. They're influenced by what's been going on in the community, I guess, and what I've been watching over the last week or so. The first question then is, what do you think of dumpster diving? There was a really big viral video that went around not so long ago. Basically it was a guy going through a GameStop dumpster in America, and he was really pissed off in the video. He found a huge pile of games that had been discarded, and they'd been kind of scratched through. The discs had been sort of damaged purposefully by GameStop, I guess to stop people playing them, or I don't know. And it was really the first time when this whole dumpster diving thing had come to my attention. Like, I didn't know that there was this culture actually. If you take a look through YouTube, you'll actually find that there are quite a lot of channels that are exclusively dedicated to dumpster diving, and there are other channels that aren't, but they have dumpster diving regular slots as part of what they do. Now, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically kind of going to bins, and you go there, you rummage through the bins, and you look for stuff. You look for free games or game-related items, and then you take them home. And if you're a YouTuber, then you show YouTube videos about it. And I don't know, I had to think a little bit, what do I think about this? And, you know, I think that my opinion is just an opinion. If you like dumpster diving and that's what you do, completely cool with me. I am not a person to tell people what they should and shouldn't do on YouTube. It's got absolutely nothing to do with me, but this is just an opinion piece. Personally, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I've watched quite a few videos now, and I'm not a big fan of pickups videos anyway. Like, I can watch certain people do pickups videos if they're friends of mine, or if they're particularly interactive, or if they show footage of the games as they go along. A lot of the time I find pickups videos to be kind of boring, especially if people are just showing run-of-the-mill games that aren't particularly interesting, aren't particularly exciting. And it's like, well, you might as well just show me a shopping list. What have you actually picked up to make for your tea? It can just become a sort of dispassionate list of ingredients, unless there are very interesting games there. I found with the dumpster diving videos, because a lot of the time these were games that had been thrown away, maybe because they weren't selling very well, it was almost like a even less interesting, more diluted version of a normal pickups video, because it was kind of quite shit games. Pretty much all the videos that I watched were really boring games. And so as a person who's already not that into dumpster diving, not that into pickups, dumpster diving videos were even less interesting to me because of kind of the quality of what people were getting. There were certain videos that I watched where people were just getting like posters, or even just sleeves to games, or boxes without discs in them. And to me this is just like a bit difficult to understand. I think with me personally, I've got a lot of limitation on my space, and I have to be very selective when I'm buying games now, because I'm space conscious and I'm running out of places to put stuff. So now for me, my collection's about pinpointing those kind of quality titles that will bring something to my collection that I don't already have. And, you know, maybe sometimes getting rid of stuff to bring better games in, you know, just fine-tuning it and honing it. What I've really tried to stop doing now is like mass buying stuff because, say, it's 5 games for £20 in a shop, or you can get, you know, big hauls for cheap. That kind of thing for me takes my space, is using up my resources, and is kind of pointless. Like, I don't just want to buy stuff to show on YouTube, it has to have some value. And to me the dumpster diving thing is that, but on an even bigger scale, you know, getting huge volumes of pretty average games that you may not play, and just clogging up space. Like, some of the bigger channels were, you know, bringing home huge amounts of games and game boxes and discs that all need testing, playing through, and checking, and then selling on. And for me, as a person who's very time and space limited, that's not something that I can really get into. And it's kind of the opposite of what my intentions for a collection are. Instead of just wanting to get loads of things of variable quality and having spent a lot of time through, for me, collecting is about those choice picks that are actually gems. Don't get me wrong, there is something exciting about rummaging through the trash if you manage to find an amazing game. You know, an expensive game, a great game, an undamaged game that's playable. But my question is, how often are you actually getting good picks? Because I found that what I was seeing was very limited, and there was a lot of really run-of-the-mill crappy games, or even incomplete things or scratch things. One of the other things is when I buy a game off eBay, I really don't like my stuff arriving with any nastiness on it. Like, it makes me feel really when I have like manuals with crust and bits of food on there. It's like, God, I don't even know what that is, like how long that's been there for. The games in my collection pretty much all don't have any grossness on them, and I really do worry that if you're getting stuff from a dumpster, a lot of the time the things are going to, you know, can be quite nasty, can be quite degraded, can have stains on them. If you're up for that, then that's fine. For me, I don't know if I'm just a bit too finicky about the quality of the stuff, but I don't like that kind of thing in my collection. Some of the videos that I saw, people were just picking up pretty much anything that they saw, and I would like to see how much of the stuff that people haul in they actually keep. You know, busted up old computers, loads of cameras and things. Do you really need those? Are you actually going to use them? I often found there wasn't much follow-up as to the actual utility of the things that were obtained a bit further down the line. I don't know. So, yeah, each to their own. I honestly don't mind. If this is your thing, you know, tell me why. Tell me what it is that you like about it. Maybe I'll learn to understand it. I'm not going to be like some kind of arbiter of what you can and can't do. For me, I'm struggling to understand it, and it's personally not something that I find particularly tasteful. But, you know, each to their own. Question number 2. Do you ever get disillusioned with collecting video games? Maybe not the most positive of questions to ask, but sometimes I do kind of catch myself when I'm just acquiring more and more stuff and kind of think like, what am I actually doing here? Is this a useful way to spend my time? Is this a good hobby? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm passionate about video games. I love that nostalgia and getting a bigger and bigger collection. But sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself that these are just little cartridges that I stick into a system and make pretty pictures on a computer or a telly. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, bad things, things that I could be doing, things that I could be doing that I consider to be more worthwhile, altruistic things. And sometimes in the context of all of the things that are going on in the world and things that I could be doing, sometimes I feel like I'm actually just obsessing over something that's actually relatively trivial and doesn't actually have much in the way of real world use. It is really just a kind of materialism in it. It's just gathering things, items, inanimate objects. And I think that there is, a lot of us have that kind of, that bug that we want to just acquire and collect and make our nice little games rooms and stuff. But there are times where I just get this slight disillusionment and think, is there anything I could be doing that was different to this? And I think that's why YouTube is important for me, because it turns something that could actually be quite self-contained and self-absorbed, you know, just hoarding things in a room on my own, into something creative. Because I like to be creative and to see a kind of expressive element to what I do, and YouTube gives me that edge. It makes that kind of introversion become something that actually can then be a community thing, some way of being creative, of adding my own flair to my collection, of doing let's plays and things. So yes, I can be disillusioned with just acquiring video games on my own, but I think that on the whole it's a positive thing, and certainly with YouTube added in there, it becomes much more than just that. But I don't know, do you guys ever get disheartened with collecting games? Do you ever wonder, am I just buying things for the sake of it? Do you ever think like, you know, do I need to get a handle on this? Is there something else that I could be doing? Or are you just happy? Are you passionate? Do you just keep ploughing on and haven't had any doubts like that? I don't know, that's just something that I want to know. Like, is it normal for me to have had these little glimpses of doubt, of wonder, of questioning what I'm doing? I don't know. I'll leave that to you. Question 3. Have you ever had an idea for your own video game? And if you have, what was it? And if not, can you think of one now? Is there something that you'd like to see developed? Is there an idea that you could maybe come up with on the spot? For me, I used to have a lot of ideas about video games, especially when I was younger at school, and I really got into a piece of software called Adventure Game Studio, which allowed you to make your own point-and-click type adventure games. And that was a superb little bit of kit. And I would always start so many different bloody games and never get round to finishing them. I did a YouTube video a few months back showing off some of the games. I actually found them all again on an old website that I made, showing off some of the point-and-click games that I created. There was one that I finished that was called Compensation, which is kind of a ridiculous concept. You played as two stickmen trying to create money or get money from an insurance company by doing increasingly imaginative, like self-harm things. You know, like injuring yourself with a hammer and then suing the hammer manufacturer. It was a very tongue-in-cheek video that was kind of influenced by watching a lot of Jackass at the time, probably, as a lot of you guys did. But actually, I did have an idea for a video game maybe 6 months ago that I started making. And what I tried to do this time round was to come up with more of a plot before I started plunging in. Sorry about that, just needed a bit of water. Because one of the big problems that you can have is that if you just start with making the game, you can run out of steam and start to lose direction. You really do have to kind of have an outline of where the game's going to go before you start making it. So I tried to come up with this concept and a plot and the different characters and the different rooms, and then I made a couple of screens to test out the idea and to test out the artwork. The game that I started making was called The Machine That Did Not Dream. And it was a point-and-click adventure set in the future, at a time when there were these kind of hotels that were created where you could go, and there would be a machine there that kind of altered your consciousness and made you feel happy, gave you interesting memories, gave you nice dreams. And in this game, you basically played as a technician for this company who had to go and visit a starport hotel where the machine had gone haywire and was causing people to have horrible nightmares. And it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny sci-fi adventure point-and-click game. And I kind of got halfway through creating the first room. I made all the graphics and I've outlined the puzzles, but life got in the way and I don't know, it's there half finished. Maybe I'll come back to it. But yeah, I'd like to know, have you guys had ideas for games? Have you started making games and got stuck like me? Have you even completed them? And what were the ideas that you had and what were some of the hurdles that you had to face? Always an interesting one, this. Number 4, what do you think the future of gaming will look like? And this is a question that you can answer in many different ways. You know, whether you want to talk about how things are evolving in the short term, how you've seen games change over the last year or so and how you think they'll continue, or whether you want to jump ahead to like 10 years in the future to when you think things will be all virtual reality and interaction and things. I don't know. For me, I think I've seen subtle changes in how video games have been developing over the last year or so. And I think there's becoming an increasing focus on storytelling in video games and video games as interactive fiction. There are groups of games on Steam at the moment that are kind of point-and-click adventures, but kind of like choose-your-own adventures. Back when I was at school, it was quite popular to have those R.L. Stine books where you could flick to different pages and kind of plan your own adventure. You know, plan the different direction that you'd go in, and sometimes you'd flick to the wrong page and you'd just end up dying. Other times you'd manage to find your way through the maze and you'd get out and you'd escape. And I think increasingly indie games are seeing video games as a platform through which to tell stories. And I like that direction that video games are taking. You know, using it as a platform for interactive fiction, to tell stories, to get people involved. Of course there will be gameplay there will be choices, there'll be things that immerse you in it and make you feel like you're part of the story. But I like the direction that games are taking on Steam, where we're going back to those principles of storytelling, and I'd like to see more and more of that kind of interactive fiction games, where you're taken through a story. You know, some of them go along for long series now, you know, like you go through different episodes, and that's an area that I haven't played very much of. But a lot of my friends have told me about these different ones, survival horror games and things, and I want to start playing them because I think that sounds cool. At the moment I'm spending a lot of time revisiting the Discworld books after Terry Pratchett passed away, and just enjoying the immersion that stories can have of grabbing you and bringing you in. And I want to see more of that, more of games becoming a type of interactive fiction, almost a type of art on their own, a storytelling medium. instead of, obviously I do like old Atari 2600 games. I do like games that I just pick up and play and about hand-eye coordination. But I think the future of games may become increasingly more about interactive fiction and immersive storytelling. I don't know, that's just a thought. Question number 5 then is more of a slightly personal question, as I always find it quite interesting to hear little bits about, you guys as YouTubers and your development as people and things and what makes you tick. So how has YouTube influenced you as a person? I think YouTube has had quite a big influence on me. I mean, I had a big interest in retro video games since I was a young, well, they weren't retro then. Since I was at school, I used to love, the Mega Drive and had a big collection. And, as I finished university, I kind of started regrowing my Mega Drive collection again and having that sense of nostalgia and going back to things that I used to love. But people that I was surrounded with at work and things weren't often that interested in that. And it kind of felt like it was a guilty little pleasure, a little thing that I had myself, but that other people didn't kind of get. And then I discovered YouTube, and I found that there was actually a community of people out there that had similar experiences to me, and were also big fans of the same things that I liked. And that really made me kind of come out of my shell and start to express myself and to explore these things as a community. And that had a big influence on me. It kind of validated me and made me feel part of something bigger, rather than just being a guy that was into relatively niche things that were in the past that nobody else was too into. And I think as a person I can be quite introvert and a little bit shy perhaps, or most people at work would say that I'm quite a quiet person. YouTube has been a great way for me to develop that expressive side of me and that creative side. Speaking in front of a camera, for example, is something that I'm still not that comfortable with, and sometimes I still watch the videos back and like, you look like a complete tit, what are you doing? But over the time it's helped to build my self-confidence and has influenced me, in terms of how I express myself, how I'm comfortable with my own thoughts, comfortable with my own opinions, more happy to explore my own ideas and not be shy. And so I think it's had an impact on my life and has influenced me in that way, in a sort of confidence boosting kind of way. And just kind of validated my interests and made me feel part of something much bigger, which is really cool. Anyway, this video is now rambling on towards 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop it there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I really look forward to hearing your own opinions and your responses to the 5 questions that I've asked. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.